Hey everybody, hi, how are you? Good evening, welcome to Saturday night, live. It's Quilt Nerd time and I'm really happy to be here. I was just talking to Steph. It's been a great day. It was a great, the past couple days were great. I was in Kansas City to lecture to the Kansas City Modern Quilt Guild, and it was amazing. It was an amazing trip. And I have a lot of content tonight, like so much that I can't linger too terribly long. There are announcements to make. I actually have some previews for Tuesday's show because there was so much that I wanted to do tonight. I realized that I have to save some of it for next week or we'll be here all night. Some of us would be okay with that, including me. But I try to keep the show within a sane amount of time. Stephanie can't be here all night long. Stephanie Cake, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Good.
It's Quilt Nerd Saturday.
It's Quilt
Where
Nerd
else would I
Saturday.
be?
Yeah, exactly. It's what you did you say it's what you need? Is that what you said?
Well, yes, it is what I need, but it's where else would I be on a Saturday night? Right here.
Indeed. I've had great Saturday nights. I've had really rough ones, and the Quilt Nerd Saturday nights, like, they're always right on time. They're always what I need. So so I've got some pictures to show you. Two pictures to show you tonight before during my sort of little opening thoughts, right? My opening thoughts. And so I'm going to change the screen a little bit earlier than I usually do to show you these pictures. I want to say hi to everybody who's in the chat and who's coming in. Lady K, hello. KC was fun. Indeed. Yes, Kansas City, yes, Drink Wine and Solin. KC has an awesome modern quilt guild. About 250 people. I mean, it's one of the top 5 biggest guilds. I was talking to Kate, the outgoing president. She's amazing. I love funny women, she's really funny. So I was in Kansas City and I lectured on Thursday evening and then yesterday morning. So I had 2 lectures. And they went great, but something really important happened. And I think maybe, hey girl, Denise is here. So could I get welcome baskets in the chat for Denise? This is her first time at the show, and she just said hi. And she's Denise almost, and she is actually the star of the story that I'm going to tell you. Okay, so let me get small. I'm going to get small here because I got to show you these pictures. So actually, I'm going to disappear because the pictures say what I need them to say, and having 2 of me on the screen actually might be kind of strange. So why don't I do this? Help, I'm small. And then do this. And we'll talk about the quilt behind me, the intro quilt. We'll do all of that in just a minute. So yeah, see, 2 of me is way too many of me. Let me do that. All right. So that's Denise, and Denise is a member of the Modern Quilt Guild in Kansas City. And that's a picture of us 2 days ago on Thursday night, okay? So Denise is great, and I know Denise because 6 years ago, I lectured at the Kansas City Modern Quilt Guild, and in fact, we figured out that it was 6 years ago to the day. To the day. Isn't that crazy? 6 years ago to the day, I lectured at the Kansas City Modern Quilt Guild, and I remember the gig very well. So 6 years ago would have been 2016. Okay, so we just had an election in this country, right? You may be aware. I have my I voted sticker right over there, right? Well, 6 years ago was 2016, and there had been a pretty big election at that time. It was the presidential election in 2016. This is a picture of me and Denise in 2016. My mother is right. Lipstick really helps me brighten up my face. Fine. Okay, fine, Mom. Fine. Okay, I finally took my mother's advice. I look a little washed out. Whatever. Denise looks amazing. Whatever. I almost took that coat, by the way. It's literally in the office. I was like, I'm not going to take this coat. I don't want to pack it. I have the same. I was like, okay. Really gotten a lot of use out of that coat. Anyway, so that's me and Denise in 2016. And by the way, I asked Denise if I could tell the story. She was like, totally. Go for it. It's great. So the conversation I had with Denise was one of the most important conversations I have ever had with anyone. And I've had some really good ones, y'all. Some really good ones. Denise picked me up. She was like my handler for the day, And it was 2 days after the presidential election in 2016. And the guy who won, I voted for the other guy, and I was, I hate all of the politics. I hate everyone equally, like Democrats, Republicans. I hate it. I'm an independent voter, man. I'm proud to be an independent voter, and that's the way it's going to be. It's the way it's always been. But I grew up in a Democratic house, Democrat Party household, whatever. And I was not doing great when I flew to Kansas City 2 days after the election, after the presidential election had wrapped, right? I remember standing in the Kansas City hotel where I was staying, watching President Obama speak with incoming President Donald Trump. And just kind of, when I have alcoholic beverages, I don't drink to like get drunk. I don't drink to seek oblivion. Some people do. It's very sad to me, but they drink so they can sort of like disappear or sink into oblivion. That has never been me. I do not like that. But on election night, my point is, I think I was still hungover when I got to Kansas City, and I was not in a good way. So anyway, Denise picks me up at the airport. Denise has purple hair at the time, or it was dark. This is her hair at the time, but it was really it was purpley, and it was like this cool haircut, and she's wearing this David Bowie, labyrinth shirt, and I'm like, so I assume that she also voted for the other guy, right? And I looked at her and I was like, how are you doing? Are you okay? And she was like, yeah. And she kind of changed the subject. And I was like, oh, okay. And it became, I realized that she was not upset, right, about the outcome of the election. In fact, she had gotten what she hoped. The outcome was the one that she wanted. And Denise and she picked me up and we were to go to lunch. And so we went to lunch. And I was sort of understanding, and I didn't bring it up again. I was sort of avoiding politics. But then we were at lunch and I was like, Denise, can I ask you a personal question? And I ask it with full, open-hearted. I'm not trying to do anything here. But did you vote for Trump? Because I didn't. And I am trying to understand. I'm trying to understand what's going on. And she said, I did vote for him. And I said, can you tell me why? Because I don't want to sound dumb, but I don't understand. And Denise, with grace and, generosity, told me about her life. And she told me about her family. And she told me about where she lived and how she grew up and what her family did and what her family used to do. And she told me, I learned who she was, right? And what, I learned about her and her experience. And over the course of that conversation, I'm not going to cry. I talked to her. I listened to her, and I understood why her family, I understood why someone might make a choice that was different from me. And I didn't judge her for it. I didn't agree with her at all. But I understood just by listening to her why she would have done something that I would never have done, which was vote for that guy. And I got to tell you guys that I told Denise this when I saw her again 2 days ago, I told her, Denise, and she was like totally blown. She was like, "What?" I was like, I have to talk to you. I said, that conversation is one of the most important conversations I've ever had in my life. And I talk about you all the time. Because when I'm talking about politics, and we don't talk about politics on this show, and I just had an email exchange with somebody else who said, thank you, by the way, for not doing that, And it wasn't like, if I ever need to talk about something, or something. When the Roe v. Wade thing happened, I was like, look, people, and I changed the slideshow and it was all women, it's going to happen from time to time. But for the most part, I just want us to quilts to me, the reason I cried on that video, right, about quilt clothes, somebody asked me like, don't you think there are more important things to cry about, But to me, quilts are humanity, like made evident, They're like proof of our humanity, right? We want to wrap people and we want to keep them safe and we want to have beauty in our lives and all that stuff. So that's what this show's about. The show's about quilts, and it's about our humanity, and it's about people, and I don't want to tell you what I think about the midterms. I mean, sure, do I have opinions? Of course. Are they going to be talked about here? Are you kidding? No, like, go to Facebook if you want to talk about that stuff. Here, it's something else. And so I don't talk about the politics stuff, but part of the reason that I guess I would make that choice is because I know better. And this quilter and this Kansas City Modern Quilt Guild member, Denise, you really helped me like along my path, because we just don't do it enough. And I had the very good fortune to have you pick me up at the airport 2 days after the election and actually talk to you about it. Instead of being in a bubble, instead of talking to my friends and being like, oh my God, everything's terrible. And so that's it. I won't belabor it, but I thanked you enough, and I don't want to be weird either, because I was like, Denise, and now I'm like, can I tell our story on the show? And she's like, it's your story, you can tell it, of course. But now I'm like, I don't want to be weird. So anyway, you're awesome. I told you many times, and that's it. That's it, man. You're the best, and I should wear lipstick. I get it, Mom. I totally get it. It's true, because I think like it's just. What's crazy? Look at that, man. There you go. There's 6 years. You see those little crow's feet? You see that? That's freaking me out. Anyway, so moving on. So thank you, Denise. You're the best. Totally cool. Also, I hope you all enjoyed that story. This is the setup for tonight. I took a picture just a minute ago. I hope that's not too quick of a transition, but we have so much to do tonight, so I will get on with it. Do you see this? Do you see this? You know how I couldn't show you this button because it's green? This lurker button couldn't be seen when I was showing it last week. Let me get back on this camera here. I had the lurker button, but I couldn't show it because with the green screen it just makes it invisible, and it's very strange. So I took a picture of it here on my book reader, my book stand, which was donated by a brilliant quilt nerd viewer and changed everything for me. So you may remember that the office here received something from the Amazon wish list for the show, and it's a camera, and it's a really nice one, and I used it the day I got it for the co-working stream, and it's amazing, and it's incredible. And the person who sent it was very sneaky. This person was like, with love from the Lurker Lounge, because we have a Lurker Lounge around here, which, is like great. You don't ever have to chat in the chat. If you don't want to, you can just hang out, watch the show. I did see an ex-boyfriend the other day. He did say hi. Yeah. So, hi, Nick. Anyway, it's fine. I didn't. Yeah. Anyway, he made himself known. It was fine. Anyway, I hope you're so cute. Okay. So thank you from the Lurker Lounge, enjoy from the Lurker Lounge. And I was like doing my like Liam Neeson thing. I was like, I will find you and I will give you this lurker pen, which I got at TwitchCon. I wanted to give it to this person as a thank you. So I sort of put that call out there, and indeed I forwarded the message to it was sent to the Quilt Nerd email, but the old one. So in our Gmail address, quiltnerdshow@gmail.com. It's what you should send emails to. It's in there to share with you stuff. And the person got in touch, and so now I know who it is. Not gonna reveal this person's identity. So I'm gonna have you doing gender. Could be a her, could be a he, could be a friend beyond the binary. We will never know, but I know. And I will be sending you this pin, my dear. You see, you can't see it, but you can see it right here. Oh yeah. So lurker pin coming to you, and I appreciate you so much. I can't wait to put that in the mail for you. So thank you so much. Amazing. So that's great. That's really cool. Soundboard. Yeah, soundboard. Let's see. I want to do the latest. Oh yeah, Quilt Church. Oh yeah, Quilt Church. Yeah, right. That's the right sound for that moment. Okay. Very briefly, and then we're getting into quilts. I promise. Whoop, no, that's not the right one. I have a different one. Hold on. Look at the lurker pin. I need to put that one down there. Replace. Yes, this is the one I want. Come on now. I have a couple of schedule things just to share with you because that is. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Couple schedule things. Hide. Go away. No. Yes. No. All right. So we have November 18th, which is next week. There's a morning show on Friday morning, 9 a.m. Okay, so we were going to do it. The Kansas City gig kind of changed things around a little bit. Why would you go away? Oh, yeah. Nope. Lovely. So next week we have the morning show, and we do this show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, and every Saturday at 8 p.m. Central, and every other week we do a morning show at 9 a.m. So that helps the people in other countries who watch us tune in. So next week is a morning show, so that's great. And then on the 27th of this month, there's ways to support the show. You can be a subscriber, which is really amazing and really helps me actually do the show, make the plane fly. There's tier 1, and you get lots of stuff, and there's tier 2, and there's tier 3, and you pay a little more with each tier, but there's like great perks that come with each tier. And the number one thing, I never mentioned this, Stephanie. You don't have to watch ads when you subscribe. I mean, YouTube, like, I would not watch a fraction of what I watch on YouTube if I had to watch ads. I pay for YouTube Premium, $10 a month. I'm like, take my money. So when you subscribe, you don't have to watch that stuff. It doesn't interrupt the show. So that's a really good reason, but there's so much more. There's emotes and there's special events and stuff like that. And I mean, it's a good thing to subscribe, right, Steph?
It really is. And, it's, I love watching other streamers on Twitch.
Yeah.
But I'm judicious about who I'm giving my love to on a long-term basis.
Yes, absolutely.
And so some of them I get frustrated because I'm like, like the commercial came right when they were about to say something and I miss it,
Yeah. Totally. It's better to subscribe. Plus, if you like the content, it's like, it helps a lot because it takes a lot to make the show. Anyway, so on November 27th, I'll be in Winterset, Iowa, with my mom for the Thanksgiving holiday, and we're going to do the Sunday Social, which is a private stream for the T2 and T3, Tier 2 and Tier 3 subscribers. So my mom and I are going to do our private stream for y'all, the T2 and T3 people, and we're going to sew, we're going to chat, and it's going to be great. And that's a private thing. It's a perk. And then the Quilt Nerd subscribers, this is another. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's not for subscribers. It's totally cool. But we do a thing called Quilt Nerd on Parade, where you send pictures of what you're making to me, like quilts you're working on. And we have a form that you fill out and everything. And then I show your work on the show. And we do it every quarter. So 4 times a year, Quilt Nerd on Parade. And this time, this is the first time we're doing subscriber only. Because we gotta keep the show going. And to keep the show going, I mean, yeah. So, and then just in general, so there's a deadline to get me your stuff before that show, and just basically the Thanksgiving week, I'm going home for the holiday. They'll all be from Iowa. It'll be a good time. My family's gonna be there and all that stuff. So, Stephanie, while I'm pulling up the intro quilt, because let's get into that, I just want to say, like, Stephanie Cake is the on-air producer of this show. And she's great. And I didn't even I've been talking to you, but I didn't introduce you to the people or introduce the people to you. So this is Stephanie. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm eating gummy bears. A gummy bear night. Yeah.
I haven't had those in a while. That's good. What kind? Haribo? Is that the only kind to have?
I kept getting stale Haribo, and so they were a little chewy. A little tough on the old TMJ jaws. So I'm a diehard Albanese fan.
Albanese.
I kind of like their flavors better. And,
Interesting.
I think in the gummy bear community, saying you don't like Haribo is probably like bad, but
right, it's like not okay. I saw Raffle Waffle. Raffle Waffle is in the KC MQG. So I hung out with Raffle Waffle, and we were all at lunch at Kansas City Barbecue, which is great. And I mean, it's the best. And Raffle and I were sitting together, and I overheard her say that she goes to board game conventions, and I was like, girl, you get nerdier all the time. I love it. I love it. We did a good selfie. So yeah, I think maybe she posted it in the disco. Okay. So, hello to everybody. I haven't said hi to everybody, but that was a lot of stuff. So I'm going to get into the quilts right now, and we'll go from there. Okay. So the intro quilt changes every single show. I put something different behind me so we can talk about as many quilts as possible, right? This quilt is from this exhibit book, okay? The New California Quilt, 1984. And this is the back cover of that exhibit book, California Crafts Museum. So this beat up thing from 1984, I got at the American Quilt Study Group seminar in San Diego at the end of September. And there were just all these exhibit catalogs, and I just love them so much. I mean, for the show, they're just great because these things, this is how many pages is this? It's like, I don't know, 25 pages, 30 pages, but the images are fantastic, and there's a little bit about each one. Usually the quality of the images in these exhibit books is really good because, it's the catalog for the show. It's not a magazine that has to print 10,000 of them or something, or 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 of these. So that they're pretty high quality, and so you sort of see a snapshot of the past when you look at an exhibit catalog of a quilt show in 1984, for example. So I was flipping through this one, and the California Crafts Museum. I don't know, could you take a look, Stephanie Cake? Is the California Crafts Museum still a thing? I wanted to Google it, and I didn't get it done. Hey, Raffle subscribed to Tier 1. You've been subscribed for 12 months. You're currently on a 12-month streak, also known as, a year. You've been subscribing for a year. That's a little champagne cork for you. Raffle, it was great to see you. You're so cool. You're like, I don't know. You have a great grin. You have like I don't know, like when you smile, you grin. Some people smile and they're like, and some people have like a toothy grin, and some people have like a lopsided grin. And all these are great. They're smiles, but you got this great grin. You're just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. That's the best I can tell you, but it's really nice, and it was great to see you. Did you send me that selfie? I don't think you did, but if you would, that would be great. You may have my number because you were at the Quilt Museum back in months ago. Yeah, it's true. See, only somebody with a great grin would say, "Ah, shucks," totally unironically, Yeah, Steph, were you going to say?
So, I looked at the California Crafts Museum.
Yes.
And what I get is Craft Contemporary, which is formerly the Craft and Folk Art Museum.
Really?
California. So I don't know if it's the same thing or not.
Interesting.
I don't know if by searching California Crafts Museum, it just went, oh, let me show you some craft museums in California. Or if it's saying this is the California Craft Museum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes Google is very confusing.
It is, yeah. And I'm never sure if putting things in quotes is helpful or not. Grouping, because I don't know, because it doesn't always do anything or help me.
The Boolean search parameters, they sometimes fail you.
I can't believe that you use that word in a sentence. I've never really known. I was like, Boolean cubes, search cubes. Okay, so that's good to know. I mean, sometimes these things change names. I mean, there was the American Craft Museum for a while. That's no longer. I could find it over there, but I won't. But the American Crafts Museum or something that changed. I mean, things change, but California Crafts Museum to me did not sound like anything I had ever heard of. But here we are, and they have these these great quilts. So I scanned just a couple of them, and I'm going to go back to the intro quilt because that one jumped out to me the most. But look at this, and we've seen this person before. This is Miriam Nathan Roberts. Miriam Nathan Roberts, this quilt is called Lattice Interweave. I didn't choose it for the intro quilt because it's pretty like wild. Like sometimes the intro, there's a lot that goes into the intro quilt. It's not just like a fabulous quilt. Sometimes it doesn't really work in the background. Anyway, but this is great. I mean, wow, look at that. Look how she did. How did she do that? It's 1984-ish. And this is all solid fabric. Look at the shading. Now, wait a minute. Now, did she paint on it? I don't actually know. It looks like she did. I don't think she did. Here's what we have. We have just a brief word from Miriam Nathan Roberts about her quilt, Lattice Interweave. She says, quote, "My aim in this quilt was to achieve a sense of three-dimensionality on a flat surface. I also wanted a contrast between the strong design element, devoid of color, against a background of color to make the grid appear to float in front. It looks to me like woven steel." Yeah, looks like that to me too, Miriam. It's just, I mean, it says, well, no, it doesn't say anything else about this except that. I mean, it doesn't have, oh wow, it has addresses of all the artists. Well, that's cool because people could get in touch and order stuff, but wow. So if Jean Hughes still lives in Los Gatos, California, I could like send her a letter. Therese May. Cool. Miriam Nathan Roberts. Wow. Oh, this was quilted by Sarah Hirschberger, by the way. Wow. Oh my God. Kate Pasquini. Yvonne Porcello. Well, she's passed away now. Joan Schultz. I mean, maybe I should just send fan letters to all these people and see, you know? I mean, Joan Schultz, are you kidding me? Okay, anyway. So, yeah, nerd out big time moment there. This quilt, by the way, hey, Earth Girl Now. You subscribed to Tier 1. You've subscribed for 9 months. Earth Girl Now. I love it. Thank you so much. It just makes me feel really great, and it really helps, and I really appreciate you. And enjoy the ad-free experience and the emotes. I thought on Tuesday we would do like an emote review, because when you subscribe, you get like special emotes, and they're fun. And I also thought we should just go through all the emotes to tell people what they mean. Like the pie emote, like we haven't talked about what that means. You know, it means same. It means same. Like if I say something you agree with, or somebody else in the chat says something you completely agree with, I think it's Tier 2. Who has the pie emote?
I think we all have the pie.
Okay. You can just, yeah, that's right. I think even the followers have the pie. So if you're like, I love that quilt, I think it looks like woven steel too, you don't have to say all that. You can just put the pie in the chat. Okay. So here's where we do a very brief preview for next week. And it's all content. This is not announcements. This is the show. We're soaking in it. So a couple people at the KC MQG meeting, you all have the cake. That's right. See, there's the sames. You all, I have had there's so much stuff to share tonight. I have really not said hi to people, but I see you, and I appreciate you being here a lot. Just wanted to say it because I kind of like to go through and say hi to folks. My grandma, when my mom was gone on business trips, lecturing like I was doing in Kansas City, same kind of thing, right? Different year, same kind of gig. Her mom, my grandma Graham, would come over and watch us sometimes, and she'd be like, Hannah, Mary, Rebecca. She'd be like, I'm calling the roll. Like she would, she'd be like, Mary, Hannah, Rebecca, call the roll. Anyway, so I'm kind of, I want to call the roll tonight and say hi to like everybody in the chat, but I'm gonna keep going. Because this was the other KC thing. A couple people came to the lectures and they had their quilty magazines with them. And they were like, we love quilty, we love it so much. And I was like, ugh. And it made me feel, a warm feeling. Because, quilty, I haven't looked at issues of Quilty magazine in a long time. And I pulled a couple out, and dang it, if it was a pretty good little rag, And so what I thought I'd do, so on Tuesday we're gonna look at a couple issues of Quilty. And I was looking through the magazine. I was like, is this enough? Like, is it enough? And it's like, well, it better have been enough. We publish it as a magazine. It should be good enough for a show, right? And indeed, like it's really fun. There's Spoolie, And for the show on Tuesday, I actually found the felt spoolie plushie that someone made and sent me. Yeah, so I'm gonna bring it. So Spoolie's gonna be on the show, and I mean nobody's seen that, you know. I should try. Oh God, who made it for me? Oh God. Well, it's adorable, and I've kept it, obviously, through many moves and many transitions in my life. Spoolie has stayed with me. So we're gonna look through it, and I pulled out a couple issues. This is from 2015. That's a great quilt. God, isn't that great? Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I'm pretty sure I don't have this copy of Quilty because that's a beautiful quilt. I would remember it.
You know, I'm telling you, like that one. Oof, that one. Who was the editor that chose to put that on the cover? Wow, she really knew which one. Sorry. And I did that style shot too, and I got to tell you that you know, it's like the quilt was so great. It was okay that like railing wasn't that great. If you kind of look, it was kind of like, but. The quilt was so beautiful. So who made it, right? Let me just and you know what's interesting is going through these old quilty magazines. This is Jeannie Jenkins. Jeannie Jenkins? Do you know that name? I mean, I'm behind on the modern folks. Look at this thing. I mean, it is great. But going back, I mean, this is 2015. Quilty started magazine in 2012. And went to 17, but I left in 2016. Anyway, and then it closed, I think, in 2017. Anyway, it's interesting to see these people younger, right? Like you see like some of the modern superstars, you know, and you know, they were getting published in lots of different magazines, but it's like, oh, cool, you know, like there's, well, Bridget Heitland, right? But we know her name. Not so much a modern quilter exactly. But anyway, we're going to go through a couple issues of Quilty. And I think that'll be really fun. It's not the only thing we're going to do, though. And another reason to bring this up tonight is that when I opened this magazine, see a table of contents. Oh, and look at the contributors. Cheryl Arkeson. And I hired all these people. I was like, I want to get a column, you know, each bi-monthly issue is going to have these standing columns. Kelly Bisco Pink, she was a newer hire. Amy Ellis, right, who makes Curated Quilts magazine now. I had her do the long arming column. Heather Kenyon wrote a column sometimes, but Ebony Love was the long armor column. Amy Ellis did the domestic machine quilting, and Vanessa Vargas Wilson talked about tack. It was great, man. It was so great. So anyway, so I was looking through this stuff, and I saw this, and I was like, oh right, that quilt was so cool. I remember that quilt, and I was like, who made that? And I looked it up, and Lorena Marignan made this quilt called Superlative. It was quilted by Noreen Guerrero. And I Googled, I can't believe it's so crazy. I Googled Lorena Marignan, and I totally love her work. I had no idea. The work that she's made since then, like I love her work. I've had a folder on the desktop full of this person's work for a while. I was going to do it with Hannah. I had the content ready to look through with Hannah, a lot of it. I think we maybe looked at one or something before the time ran out. Anyway, we're going to look at some of this. Look at her. She's amazing. And she's from Cuba. And anyway, we're going to look at some of her quilts tonight. But then on Tuesday, we'll go through some quilty magazines. And the last thing that I'll tell you about what we're going to do, I go through YouTube a lot. I'm in YouTube's business quite a bit. And I really love finding vintage quilt footage, okay? I love it. You know, I mean, if there's no other place, I'll tell you, there's no other place on the interwebs, if I'm wrong, please let me know, where you can basically watch a reaction channel or like a reaction to vintage quilt programming. You know, I mean, it's super fun, right? And like, where else can you get it? You get it here. And so I really like to find the old Georgia Bonesteel stuff, you know, that crazy, amazing documentary made in Kentucky, you know, in like 1969 or whatever that we watched. It was late. It was getting late and we couldn't turn it off. But you'd think you'd find it when you look for like old quilt documentaries or whatever. I try a lot of different search terms. Well, I found a new one tonight and we're going to watch it. oh yes, we're going to watch it on Tuesday. And I took some screenshots, and I'm just going to play some audio because I don't want you to read ahead. I don't want you to watch it before Tuesday. We want to watch it together. It's Irish Patchwork. It's a piece of media called Irish Patchwork, and I'll find out more about when it was made, but it was made a while ago, and it is 28 minutes long. So, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, going through Quilty, we're going to do both. Okay, so just listen to some of this. Listen.
Isn't this really beautiful? And it's hard to believe that it was made over 100 years ago, and every stitch sewn by hand.
This is the woman
In fact,
talking.
It was made by a young girl called Margaret Egan. She was only 14 at the time, and she made it at her home in County Roscommon. Her father didn't even know she was making it. He didn't allow her to make it because she had asked him could she make it at night using the oil lamp. And he had said to her, no, there's not enough oil because you've got to do your homework and after that you've got to go to bed. So in the privacy of her own bedroom, Margaret made this patchwork. It took her a year to make, and all the fabrics she bought from a local dressmaker or from the mill. She bought penny bags of scraps. This is why all the reds are different colours, because she didn't buy them all at the same time. In fact, you can see here darker reds and lighter reds. Patchwork was largely practiced throughout the 19th century, although a few examples do exist.
I mean, this woman is like, I mean, she just the red hair and her sort of like, just like, I don't know, sort of aching, she's just talking, you know, but she's like, and she did the thing with the thing and the, I'm like, it's really great. It's really great. So we're going to watch it together. And so, yeah, subscribe to the show, man. Help keep this kind of thing going. Tuesday's going to be a great show. They're all great, but Tuesday's like, I don't know. I'm really excited about it. So, here we go. So I want to do something before we get into Lorena's work, which, by the way, looks a little bit like this. Amazing stuff, okay? Really interesting work, and she's very successful now. I mean, her shop, it does very well. She did a pop-up shop for West Elm. There's a very brief video we're going to watch about that. And so... yeah, right, Elle Riggs. Well, Elle Riggs, you are the reason that we're not going to go to Lorena right away, because I've got something for you at long last. So when you watch the show, you accrue channel points, and it's kind of this fun thing that Twitch does. And you can spend your channel points on stuff. And what's interesting about the people who've been watching the show for a long time is that I didn't know what channel points were for like a year, maybe longer. And so people have been watching the show. It's like, hey, guess what? When you watch, you have these channel points. And I made mine thimbles, you know, I call them thimbles. And if you spend thimbles, you can, like, get stuff. And so I finally put the program together. And one of the things you can spend your thimbles on is you can be the content director. You can spend 15,000. I think it's 15,000, right, Steph? Okay, so if you spend 15,000 channel points, you can tell me something that you want to see on the show. And I will do your bidding. And what was great is that there were people who watched the show for so long who had accrued, like, I don't know, 200,000 channel points or something. So they're like making it rain with the thimbles. So Lisa, you asked for the Changi quilt a while ago. By the way, I see somebody that I don't totally recognize. Wait a minute. It's IDLLAVAN. Idalavan? I don't know. I wanna get it right. I wanna get, you know, so when you come back, I can be like, hey, Idalavan, or something like that. You know what I mean? So, but it's great. I'm so glad you're here. And if you're new, or if you're just coming in from the Lurker Lounge, I'm really glad that you said hello. Yeah, and everybody's here. I appreciate it. And Mishral, I almost missed it. You subscribed at Tier 1. You've subscribed for 3 months. What the? That's so great. And we haven't heard from Emma Andres yet. You subscribed, and you know what?
And there was no monkey business about it either.
I'm sorry. There's something about Emma. I'm not sure if it's right. I love it, but every time I play it, I'm like, is this cringy? Like, I don't know. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I love her.
Okay,
I love
okay.
her.
We could do a poll. Okay, actually, let's do a poll. I'm going to put a poll up here, and then we're going to transition to something that's actually quite serious, and I'm really, really glad that Lisa spent her thimbles to ask us to look at the Changi quilt on the show, because I had never heard of it. It's amazing, and I actually found a couple of them, Lisa, which you may be well aware of. Hang on, I have to log into Twitch, which seems impossible, really. But if I'm going to do a poll, I have to do that. I don't know. It's interesting. It's funny. Okay, here we go. Yes, remember this computer for 30 days, especially if I'm doing a show, literally doing a show. All right, we got it. All right, I'm going to do a poll, and I'm going to ask if you all like the Emma Andres soundboard cue, or if you think we should make room for something else. And if you don't know, Emma Andres is a very famous quilter. She's passed away. She made a lot of really intense, like, cool quilts. Really cool. Lots of, like, sort of pixelated. We would call them pixelated today. Really interesting. Arizona. And we were watching this documentary or this thing about Arizona quilting, and there was Emma Andres, you know? I mean, for what was, like, the 1960s, and then they were like, Emma Andres is a quilter in Arizona who's risen to prominence, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, nice quilt, Emma. And she was like, and I mean, it was a Jesus quilt. And she was like, and Jesus came down and blah, blah, blah. And there was no monkey business about it either. And we were all like, that's going to go on the soundboard. And so now it's here.
And there was no monkey business about it either.
But she's the stern taskmaster. And anyway, so let's see what you think. Do you want it to stay? Should Emma stay on the soundboard? Yes, I love it. No, it scares me. Okay, that's going to be, and it's going to be for 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay? That's how long you have to do it. So, up in the top of the chat, you should see the poll, and you can vote, and it's a democracy, okay? All right, so while we're doing that, let's look at the Changi quilt. So I have a video to play you, and then some images to look at. And that, we'll watch the video first. And I really do want to sort of, I mean, let's change the tone a little bit, right? Because the Changi quilt, I don't think I need to give a content warning, but you should know that the Changi quilt, this content, this topic, it's about prisoners of war, British and Australian in particular, in Japanese prisoner of war camps during World War II. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And this video is 3 minutes, and it was produced by the Victoria and Albert Museum 12 years ago. Good heavens. And like I said, I've got some images too of a different quilt. But this video is a very good primer, right, to what this is. And so, yeah, so it's intense, man. And so Olga Henderson is going to talk to us about life as a child in a prisoner of war camp. And she will talk about the Changi quilt. That's Changi, Changi quilt. And hang on. This video was made, as part of the exhibition Quilts 1700 to 2010 at the V&A. In 2010, and I got to see it very randomly. It's like my first time in London. I got to see it, but of course I couldn't appreciate what was really there at the time. It would have taken longer. So it's great to see this now. Okay, here we go. Do this. All right, a Changi quilt. Thanks, Lisa, for sharing this with the show. I know some people listen to this while they're doing stuff, so I'm going to read what's on the screen. There's just a few sentences, and then she'll speak. The screen says, Olga Henderson talks about life as a child in a prisoner of war camp.
the hut we
Okay, all right. I thought there was more. Here we go.
were put in was for 34 people to sleep in, and there was 119 of us in it. So you can imagine what we were like. I mean, you just more or less slept together, and you had no bedding, you had nothing like that. And the Japanese gave us a piece of land, and each person, each child worked it, but you were not allowed to eat anything off it. As soon as it ripened, you had to tell the guard, and they would pick it. You weren't allowed to eat it at all. I think that the horrible thing was that you had no soap, and you had water. If you were in the fields, because you had to work in the fields, and if they turned the water on, it wasn't a gush, it was just a very slow sort of flow. But by the time you came off the field, picked your piece of tin up that you had, an old tin can, by the time you got there, they turned the water off, so you had nothing, So we used to try and clean our teeth with ash, if you could get it. We used to get the little twigs and knock the ends off and make a toothbrush. When we first were in Changi, after we all got settled down and was given our allotted spaces, it was very boring because there was nothing to do. So Mrs. Ennis decided to start a little girl guide group. There was 18 of us that started, Eileen and Helen and Evelyn and Shirley. They were all from one family, and Shirley was the elder one. She was more the leader of one group. Mrs. Ennis was the boss, you might say. We decided to do the quilt for Mrs. Ennis as a birthday present. We didn't know which year she was going to get it, but we started it anyway. We left our homes and went as we were dressed. So, of course...
Look at that. Do you see? I can't zoom in on YouTube videos, but here, the threadbare, if you can zoom in on what you're watching, of what you're watching on, what device you're watching on. Sorry. The to the right of the yellow hexie, I mean, it's just coming apart, completely coming apart, and you can sort of see it's not that the stitches were tight and are now loose. It seems to me that those are the stitches that were taken to kind of keep things together. I could be wrong, but that seems like a mending, they were trying to keep it together. Anyway.
That's all the clothes you had. So you had to make do. Practically all the time you were in patched bits and pieces. I started by having a little eye device because I got a bit of blue wool and anything to get bits of material. We had to scrounge enough thread to make our own little badges. Thread needles were the most important things, and we used to get those by unpicking old dresses to get the thread from the seams. And my mother took some needles in and thread. She gave us a little bit of thread, but it was like gold. So, but needles was the most important thing because you didn't get any more. What you had in camp was what you had. We used to try and sharpen them on the concrete pavements, but it didn't really work.
Yeah. I didn't know about it at all. And so I was looking into it a little bit more. And so I found some other stuff. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, Ivana, thanks so much for subscribing at Tier 3. You've subscribed for 13 months. You're on a 5-month streak. Ivana, I really appreciate you. I think you know it, but if you don't, here I am on live internet television telling you. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. It's a great thing that you do when you subscribe to the show, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Robin. Hey, Robin. Thank you for reminding me. There's only one content director redemption per show. It's true. There was some confusion before. I limit it. It's kind of cool. There can even be this tool to use, but you can only have one content director redemption per show, because if people were just like constantly, making it rain, right, with those content director thimble spends, suddenly the show would be kind of different, because everybody would be, well, I don't know. I mean, one per show seems to be the right way to do this. So yeah, so if somebody does the content director during a show, you won't be able to do it until the next one. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So Elriggs, I did want to hear from you before I show this other one. Elriggs says the Girl Guides made at least one Changi quilt, and then the women of the camp made 3 more. Okay, they put their names on their squares. They were hoping that their husbands would see their names and know they were alive. Wow. Okay, so here we go. Okay, that makes sense. I mean that from what I have here. So I have this other thing. So I got this from the Telegraph in 2010. Okay, so these images come from this article, and I have this article with me, and I have not read the article at all from the Telegraph. So I'm going to read it, and yeah, here we go. The secrets of the Changi, hang on, Girl Guide Quilt. And they're reporting on the exhibition. A new exhibition at the V&A Museum features the Changi Girl Guide Quilt, stitched by 20 young British girls, okay, imprisoned in Changi jail during the Second World War. Elizabeth Grice talks to the last survivor, Olga Henderson. So she was the last survivor. We didn't know that from the video. Wow. All right. Elizabeth Grice says, hidden histories, untold stories. For once, the enticements are true. Stepping into the numinous half-light of the V&A's Quilts exhibition is an almost voyeuristic experience, as if the lives of women have been stitched into the seams of the patchwork and are being liberated for the first time. The recession and a new appreciation of the ethos of make do and mend may be why so many people are flocking. Sorry, I'm going to get to the front and then scroll. Why so many people are flocking to see 300 years of domestic needlework at the exhibit. Or it could be the Renaissance in traditional crafts. But once there in a world of quiet industry and inventiveness, visitors feel caught up in something private and intense. People not so very different from us have sewed confidences into their bed hangings, coverlets, and cushions. A mother celebrates safe childbirth. The devoutly religious Anne West secures her place in heaven. Prisoners fill their empty hours with subversive little icons. The most striking example of all of this is the simple quilt of hexagons made by 20 young girls incarcerated in Changi jail during the Second World War. Okay, so I just realized that this quilt, the one that I'm showing you, okay, the one with the hexagons we just saw, right? Obviously the hexagons. But this one, okay, this one is from the British Red Cross Museum, okay? So, sorry, this is the one that I found that was somewhere else. And Lisa, I wonder, I mean, is this by the same group? So that's what I'm confused by, because when I looked at all of this, like the Changi quilt that came up first was that hexagon quilt, but then there was this one, and I have pictures of this. So I thought, well, this is from the Telegraph, and it's about that one we just saw. So do you have knowledge on that?
Yeah, Lisa said that you might see if you scroll up.
Yeah.
She said that the Girl Guides made at least one, which I guess is this hexagon quilt.
Okay.
And then the women there at the camp made 3 more, and so that's what this is one of them.
Okay, yeah, okay, got it. So what I'm gonna do then is, as I read this, I mean, this still applies, right? It's a different quilt made by those girls. So, I mean, I have these wonderful detail shots, right, of the quilt. So I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna go ahead and read this, and just kind of, as I read, make adjustments to make it sort of more universal to the story. But the most striking example, these quilts made by 20 young girls incarcerated in Changi jail during the Second World War. The girls were hungry, threadbare, and living in appalling conditions. They had to scavenge for every scrap of material. But they came together in secret to sew quilts for their inspirational Girl Guide leader, Elizabeth Ennis, that particular hexagon one. The quilts are a testimony of endurance, and there's nothing else like the hexagon quilt in the show. Olga was 10 when her family was rounded up following the Japanese conquest of Singapore in February 1942. She remembers her mother putting on 7 dresses as they started the long, hot walk to Changi prisoner of war camp, where 2,400 civilians were to be housed in quarters built for 600. Along with Marmite, tins of condensed milk, and aspirin, Mrs. Morris had presciently packed needles and thread. When we were first in Changi, Olga recalls, it was very boring, so Mrs. Ennis decided to start a Girl Guides group. We met once a week in a corner of the exercise yard. It became a sort of family. I remember saying our promise, singing and lying down at night while Mrs. Ennis taught us the constellations. We didn't know which year she was going to get the quilt that we made her, but we started it anyway. It gave our lives a sort of permanence. Olga described how the girls worked in the baking fields, growing crops they harvested but were never allowed to eat. When their dresses rotted in the sun, they would unpick the seams and reuse the thread for quilts. They learned patchwork under Mrs. Ennis' instruction, but also sewed their guide badges and emblems. Olga says, needles and thread were worth more than gold. Whenever we left our cell, we had to post someone on duty so we weren't robbed. As they sewed, they were on constant alert for the sound of approaching Japanese guards. At the clatter of boots, they stuffed patchwork into their knickers. The Kempeitai, which is the Japanese military police, we read, Olga says, the Kempeitai were brutal and unpredictable, and they didn't like groups. They might come in at any moment and scatter and punish us, she said. But their spirit was never broken. These were girls aged 8 to 16, defying the harshest circumstances. Hut 16, which Olga shared with 119 people, was built for 34. She shared a cell measuring 8 by 6 feet with 6 others, and they had to take turns sleeping on their stone bed. Their diet was rice and water. The idea of children being interned is a powerful one, says Pritchard, who spent 6 years on the exhibition. Okay, so this is the curator, right? What is seditious in sewing? They were trying to normalize their lives, unquote. To Olga, each hexagon, each piece is a coin in her memory bank. And the newly married Mrs. Ennis, this was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, the newly married Mrs. Ennis, who inspired the quilt, had been a nurse with the Indian Army when she and her British husband, Captain Jack Ennis, were imprisoned. She was proud that, as she put it, quote, out of the grimness and misery of internment, look at that, something so beautiful could be made. Made by the guides who had lost all their possessions but still had courage, unquote. After her death 3 years ago, the quilt was presented to the Imperial War Museum. But that was not the end of the remarkable story of the Changi quilt. Ethel Mulvaney, self-appointed Red Cross representative at Changi, it gave her the idea of making other quilts, which they would stitch coded messages in to let their husbands, Lisa, you said this, let their husbands, brothers, or sweethearts in the men's camp know they were alive. The first quilt was deliberately innocuous, flattering the Japanese guard with their national symbols. My printout one sentence is gone, but it says, one of the patches said, "How long, dear Lord, how long?" And Jack Ennis, a pathologist, had not heard from his wife for 15 months, but one morning, the Australian Red Cross representative unrolled the quilt in front of him. "Is that Elizabeth?" he said, disbelieving. This message of hope and consolation, says his daughter, kept Jack going for the remainder of the internment. This is the last picture I have here of that particular quilt with the Red Cross Museum of Kindness, I think they call it. 3 other Changi quilts, aside from the one at the V&A, have survived. This one is at the Red Cross Museum in London. 2 are at the Australian War Memorial in Canberra. Dr. Bernice Archer, who studied them for her doctorate on civilian internment under the Japanese from 1941 to 1945, says, quote, "They encapsulate a moment and place in which they were created. They affirm, record, and communicate the victory of personal battles for survival in a way no other sources do. Yeah, really, really glad that I know about this now. Stephanie, had you ever heard of these quilts? Did you know about these?
I had not, and I think it's, well, I mean, it's not kind of unfortunate. There's so much world history, that we just don't get. And I would assume other countries don't get ours either. But, there's the world history we learn about was what happened with the U.S. forces, not what happened with other, civilians in other countries. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, it's touching, it's heartbreaking, it's all the things.
Yeah. I mean, saving thread from dresses that were rotting off of your body from sun and wear and
nothing makes I mean, I think I'm pretty I don't cry much in public, but what will bring me to tears, I mean, nothing brings me to tears faster than thinking about situations like this where people try to normalize things for the children. I just, I can't even when I think about that. And what a wonderful way for them to try to normalize things with this girl guides and making a quilt.
And one of them, at least, I mean, oh man, the thing about sending their husband messages, whew. But that one at the V&A was for somebody else. It's like, oh my God, I don't know. It's so good. It's so, it's evidence. It's like evidence of this happened and this, I was here, I was here. We were here, and incredible. Thank you, Lisa, so much. And exactly, rock dog. But hey, Kitty, you got it. You're here, girl. And hey, Bridgewater. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's when the Eliza Calvert Hall thing, patchwork. Oh no, it was biography, romance, life itself. It's not just quilts. If it was, we wouldn't be here. It's this, it's a story of people who, I mean, I don't know. We talk about it's a meditative thing to sew, and it's really calming, and that's very true. It is very true, and it's true. It's so true that you can do it in the worst of circumstances, right? And it feels good.
I would love to challenge anyone who says, quilting's stupid. Why do you cut up perfectly good fabric and sew it back together? I'd love for them to watch any one of these little documentaries.
Yeah.
Because this is why we do it, a lot of us.
Yeah.
Because it means something.
Yeah, and when I was in, exactly, Stephanie, and when I was in school, I took in grad school, I took textile classes, and I was in seminars with actual textile majors who were making textile art, and a lot of them talked about mark making. That was a thing that was really, it was brought up a lot. I was in grad school 2016, 17, and 18, and a lot of the textile artists were really, that was the vernacular. It was talking about mark making. Right.
That was the thing when I was in art school in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Textile people, yeah.
I'm sure, exactly. Thank you for that, because I was like, is this like a millennial? I don't know. But this quilt, this one, particularly, I mean, the hexagon big time, but this thing, I mean, mark making, let's take a look at a better picture of it. I mean, that piece of beauty came out of that. I mean, it's if you want, and it's her name there, I mean, they've put their names there, and I don't know if this one would, we could read more about each of these quilts, of course, and this one's at the Red Cross Museum in London. But mark making, indeed. I mean, it's almost, I don't want to be grim but it's almost, writing in blood, right? I mean, it's what do I have here? I'm going to write my name with the thread that I've salvaged from something else, and it's so powerful. It's so human. It's almost unbearable, right? With these things that people make, and weaving cloth, and wherever they are in the world, making these things out of nothing. Yeah. War, man. What is it good for, right? Like, fuck. Sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. I don't. Yeah. Okay. So, mark me. Raffle, thank you very much. Thank you for getting me out of my. I don't like to curse on the show. It just came out of me. Oh, God. All right. Steph, I'm going to take a quick break. Are you good to do a quick cake break and
Sure.
talk to the folks? All right.
Yeah.
All right. I will be right back, and we'll talk about Lorena. She's so great. Okay. Okay, good, Lisa. Okay, I'm really glad. Yeah, and that's why I didn't do it before, because I wanted to get information about that other quilt. It was important. Okay. All right, I'll be RB.
So, you guys, I went to an interesting meeting today. It was the futures group of the AQSG. Does anybody who's on tonight belong to AQSG? I'll give you a moment to catch up. But the futures group is sort of like it was billed to me as the younger members, and I think I said something to the effect to Kristen Barris, who is the person who leads this group. I said something to the effect of, well, I'm almost 50. Does that make me young? And she said, oh, yeah. Oh, yes, Robin. Yeah, so, oh, no, my audio is bad. Yeah, Mary probably has me too far away from the mic. I'll try to yell louder. So yeah, nothing will make a quilt nerd feel more inadequate than sitting in a meeting with like 10 other people or 12 other people, 8 or 10 of them who are PhDs. It was a great meeting, but I'm just like, oh Lordy, I feel woefully inadequate here. I think that Tara Miller and I were maybe the least educated people in the Zoom room. And Tara, I think, is a software engineer. So, yeah, but it was a really great meeting, and hearing about all of the different things that folks are researching or wanting to research. And the other piece, and for those of you that, all of you that totally forgot, we actually met up with some of the British Quilt Study Group folks. So that was really cool to hear what they're interested in and what they're doing, and how that kind of dovetails with what their American counterparts are doing. And if you did not know, there is an option for Americans to join the British Quilt Study Group. They have, I think it's like an associate membership. So it's like, I think it's probably like a cheaper membership. Because if I understand correctly, you have to join like their quilt, like some, I guess it's like a quilt guild kind of thing there. And then they join the British Study Group. But we would have the ability to join as like, the friends across the pond kind of thing. But yeah, very interesting today. And I would say the one thing that came out of the meeting that I will never forget was the moment when I think it was Kristen Barris who said it, that somebody recently coined the term for a quilt jacket, the term quacket. And I had not heard this myself. You guys might have heard about a quacket. And I think it was pretty much universally agreed in the meeting that nobody should call anything you wear a quacket. So
Stephanie,
I'm wondering what you guys think about quacket.
Amazing. Keep it going. I gotta print something off. So please talk more. I mean, quack it, really?
Yes, a quacket.
I love it.
Yes, everybody was like, quacket? No, absolutely not.
Wow.
So it was a good time. And I think, and so for those of you that are members, and I don't know if you had a chance to read Uncoverings, which I think many of us got like a couple weeks ago. Kristen Barris wrote one of the papers in there, and then Colleen Picorni wrote one of the other papers. And Colleen is actually doing some research, like more research on quilt clothing and concepts around that. So I'm really interested to see.
Colleen is amazing. She's so
she's
awesome.
very cool. So yeah. So I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say. So. Well, the thing is, you guys, I also did the grad school stuff. It just wasn't in textiles and quilting. It was in my profession. And I realize I'm a fairly educated person. And they're very nice people. That's the thing. You're sitting there and you're going like, all of these people are PhDs or college professors or, like super smart research librarian types. And they're so nice, and we were talking about people's cats and stuff. So I know that all of that sort of feeling like I'm, feeling less than is all me. There was nothing that they did or said that made me feel that way. But I just, it kind of puts you in your place when you're feeling all high and mighty and knowing stuff. And then you're like, oh, yeah, these people do it for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were, yes, on Quack it if they cut up a quilt to make it. Oh, armchair quilt historians. Well, I feel like if you join AQSG and you say, you know what, I'm researching XYZ topic, then you are not an armchair quilt historian. You are a quilt historian. So, and I mean, I'm not saying you have to join AQSG to be a quilt historian. I think if you're putting effort into something, you could call yourself that. I mean, there is no quilt historian police out there. I mean, certainly there are folks that have those credentials by going to, any of the many textile graduate programs and post-grad programs out there. I mean, there's like amazing stuff at some of these universities. But that credential doesn't mean that you can't also be a nerd too. So I had to remind myself of that. And yeah. And my great cats, I mean, that's another great point to make. I mean, looking at quilts and loving them, you don't have to be a researcher. You don't have to make quilts. That's the fascinating thing about AQSG is a lot of the folks that are, dealers, researchers, they don't actually make quilts. And so Lady K is working on a number of PhDs in quilting.
Okay, I'm almost there.
Sorry, guys, I'm reading the chat. But anyway, so I'm just rambling about that meeting. But yeah, you guys, all of you guys that are fellow members, please come to the meetings. Please remember to come to the meetings. It's lonely out there when you don't know anybody. I did have to say, though, that one of the researchers in Britain, she's actually in Wales, I think. She's kind of a double nerd. She's a musician, and she plays fiddle. And she's really into folk music, and she is also learning banjo. And so she's doing kind of sort of like a dual type of research in Appalachian music and quilt traditions. All I could think to myself was, I just need to introduce this Welsh lady to my redneck relatives because they all play banjo and make quilts too.
Really? Who is that? Who's doing that research?
Oh gosh, I'm drawing a complete. I think her name is Cara Gwen. I think she's in Wales.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and she was there today.
I can't remember.
She was at the thing.
She's a PhD candidate somewhere, I think.
Interesting. It's good stuff, man. Over there at that AQSG. That's good. Sounds good.
And it was really nice to meet our UK counterparts. They're very cool.
Was Marianne over there? Was she Marianne Teague? I don't know if she's a member or not.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, but Carrie Dell was at that meeting, and she's Carrie Dell is the I can't remember her title.
She executive director.
Okay,
right?
I was like Queen of AQSG.
Yeah, Queen. Yeah, because there's a president and there's
Yeah, she's so enthusiastic, and and then the ladies that I got a little confused about who was heading up what with the BQSG because they seem to have a different structure than AQSG does. So anyway, but yeah, they were very cool and a lot of fun. So
good. Cool. I'm glad you went. I couldn't do it, but I was glad that it was happening. And yeah, Kristen Barris is great. She's getting it together over there. Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. So for the last piece of the show here, let's look at Lorena Marignon, okay? Because Lorena Marignon, as I mentioned earlier, she was the creator of this quilt. If you missed it at the beginning, I do want to show you that I was flipping through Quilty magazine, and I saw this quilt that I remembered, and it was so great. And it was called Superlative, and I was like, damn, that's so cool, man. And it was by Lorena Marignon, designed by Lorena Marignon, and made and quilted by Noreen Guerrero. I need to Google her too and see what she's up to. But I saw this and I was like, man, I should just go through all the quilty magazines and like see where are they now. And so when I put Lorena's name into Google, I was like, no way, because I have been a fan of this person's work for a while, and this is her. And I couldn't believe it. It was one of these. It really was. It was very weird. It was very weird because I love this stuff so much. So who is this person? And I'm just gonna show you. I mean, I don't know. Okay, well, wait. First, it's 50 seconds, this video, but I'll show it to you because it's so short, and it's, I don't know, 47 seconds. But it kind of gives the vibe. This is from 7 years ago. This person, Lorena Marignon, had a pop-up shop at West Elm. So that kind of gives you an idea of like, what world are we living in here? You know, that's a pretty big deal to have a pop-up shop at West Elm. Oh, look at that. Is that Carolyn Friedlander fabric? Or is that Jay McCarroll? I think maybe it's Jay McCarroll. I know it. I recognize. If it was 7 years ago.
I think that's Carolyn's.
I think so
used to have
too.
a ton of it. I think that is Carolyn's.
I think so too. Oh, the poll ended, and we're going to review the results in a little bit. Just a minute. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is Lorena Marignon's pop-up shop at West Elm 7 years back. Lorena Marignon. Okay. So, and so 7 years ago. What is 7 years ago? When she was in Quilty in 2015 with that quilt. So when was she doing West Elm? I assure you, I did not know that she was that fancy. I would have been like, oh my God, she wants to be in the magazine. Here's this. Okay, and while we do that, while I show you, what'd you get, Steph? When is 7 years ago? Is that 27? Yeah, it's 2015, right? It's 2015. Okay,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
2015.
That. Wait a minute. Hey, listen. If you guessing is better than me, like whipping out a calculator and trying to figure it out. So okay, so who is this lady? Let's read about her. By the way, her website. I'm gonna put it in the chat right now because you should totally read ahead because her stuff is so great. Oh, actually, Steph, can you? I don't know. It's being weird for me. It's not wanting to let me chat, which is fine. I'm going to put it in Slack for you right now. You could probably Google it just as fast, but it's marinani.com. I'm going to read to you from her website, the About page, as I kind of scroll through some of these quilts, and then I'll read to you a little bit about a few of them specifically. Not everything that she has on her website has a long description, but this will be a nice way to do this here. Okay. Nope. All right. So this quilt, by the way, I will point out that what we're talking about here is a very successful artist, right? She's successful. This quilt sells for, it's sold out, $2,700. The average, I would say, the average on her quilts on her website, and they're all sold out. And what's interesting, like this one here is called After School, and it's priced at $3,200. So this is a commercial artist who is, I mean, if she sold out, right, of a quilt that's $3,200. So that, I would say, a successful commercial artist, right? Having a pop-up shop at West Elm is really, it's really exciting. I mean, that's a really big company that's saying, we like your stuff enough that we want to, associate our fancy brand with you. And, any artist who's like wanting to be seen and succeed financially, which is probably most artists, that's a huge opportunity, right? And so, hell yeah, Lorena, like, that's amazing. This one is called Barely Together, and it's $480. But let me read to you about her. Sorry, that's what I said I was going to do. But it's really nice to look at her stuff. Oh, and I see a tab for anthropology on her website, so that's interesting. So here's what we have, and it says Lorena Guy here. So perhaps she got married since I first came across her in 2015 without knowing just how cool she was. Lorena Guy is a Los Angeles-based artist and designer who creates improvisational quilts, surface patterns, and graphic design. Her creations explore abstract landscapes, geometry, and repetition, all within the narrative of cultural self-reflection. Her approach to quilt making recognizes yet reinterprets the quilt's historical and utilitarian structure. The use of materials questions boundaries. She totally went to art school, right, Steph? Isn't this like art? This is like art school talk, man. The use of materials. Let me go up here. This is a very interesting one. Hang on. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Right here. The use of materials questions the boundaries between the disposable and the durable, and questions the lines between art and craft. Details that would otherwise be considered flaws are clearly visible and often highlighted, resulting in quilts with uneven seams, raw edges, and exposed thread ends. Inadvertently, these marks become the signifiers of reactionary behaviors and moods specific to each piece and its materials. Letting one step dictate to the next, her approach is intuitive and spontaneous, personalizing abstraction by emphasizing the hand of the artist. Yeah. Super art school, Lorena. I'm totally here for it. I get it.
Yeah,
it's an artist statement for sure.
I'm sorry for rolling my eyes, but
No.
I actually have a friend who writes my artist statements for me because they're just jam-packed with bullshit.
I know. Well, you know what? I gotta say,
That's what I do. I invented Post-its.
I mean, it's true. It's like, yeah, it's writing is hard, because writing is thinking, and thinking is hard, and thinking about art is the hardest. It's the hardest thing. And thinking about your own art, thinking about your own art and your process is the hardest thing.
There's a formula for it, but I don't want to besmirch
Sure.
Vivi because her work is amazing.
Yeah,
but
totally.
yeah, her artist statement is, they're a dime a dozen.
Yeah, they're kind of like, it is kind of interesting. It's like the God, Lorena, we love you. Like, obviously we love you. But the artist statement, which she probably labored over and hates also. Like we don't hate it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, she's probably like, oh God, just you take it from my thesis, I don't care. But it is almost a little bit like magnetic poetry, where like if you have like the words like flaws considered, reactionary, moods, materials, personalizing, abstraction, like you can just kind of like mix them around and kind of get there. The good news is that she gives personal commentary to some of these pieces, specific ones, and it's great. So I'll skip some of the. There's one more paragraph of like sort of the how, and then this is her story. Just a couple of words about it. Established in 2009, the Marinani label produces contemporary, one-of-a-kind home goods using techniques passed down from generations of quilt makers. But wait a minute, there was something I read about her background as a Cuban artist. Hang on now. But I gotta click on this anthropology link too, because that's interesting. Oh wow, look at this. Feature Vogue magazine 2018. What? That's amazing. Wow. I can't click on it. That's too bad. Wow, terrific. Wow, she's gotten a lot of press. In Style, Lucky magazine. Girl, that's incredible. I love it. That's so great. And I gave her start in Quilty magazine. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. She was like, oh, I got into a quilt magazine. Awesome. Is Anthropology back on the line yet? Because I have my latte now and I'm ready to talk to them. This is great. Look at this. This is great. So this is called I Don't Do Cuddles. And I'm going to read to you what she says about it. Quote, this quilt began with a stack of fabric. I had folded into a neat little tower and placed in a corner of my studio. I thought that they looked so harmonious together. Like friends. Before the quilt's conception, I had done some research on Amish quilts, and certain elements, traditional, of those quilts can be found in my design. Flying geese, sawtooth pattern, checkered blocks. Whoa, nope, sorry. We love that. We love it. We love to see it. We love to see it. During the piecing and quilting, its warm colors made me feel uneasy. Oh. What started as a harmonious stack of cloth was now a restless and defiant design. Some blocks are machine quilted, others are done by hand. Well, that's interesting. Mixing those, interesting. The side-by-side comparison of manipulation intrigues me. What do the materials gain or lose within each approach? The binding, quote unquote, was perhaps a way for me to tame and contain its contents. But in a flame, blue is the hottest color. Ooh, that's when we love our art school girls. Ooh, we love our art school girls. Damn.
And there was no monkey business about it either.
Oh, maybe it's Emma and the church bells. Maybe that's what needs to happen. But that's some hot stuff. The binding was perhaps a way for me to tame and constrain its contents, but in a flame, blue is the hottest color. It's a painted on binding. What? It's painted on. The binding is painted on, y'all. Oh my God. Damn, it's painted on. Okay. It's painted on binding that leaves the quilt's inner layers exposed. And its private, raw parts, which should have no place in a finished quilt, leaves them vulnerable. Oh yeah, okay, I just saw that. This quilt was part of the 3rd annual group show Piecework Collective. Do you know Piecework? Have you heard of Piecework Collective, Stephanie? I haven't thought about that. I only know about that because of Peter Horges, who we interviewed for Quilt Folk in 2017. There is a thing called Piecework Collective. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk a week from tonight. We're going to talk about Piecework Collective. She painted the binding on. That is so cool. God. Look at that. I had no idea. Look how great that is. That's so interesting. Lorena. That's awesome. And she machine pieced. Did she say machine stitch or machine piece? Both of them are during the piecing
Looks like
and quilting. Yeah,
she's done both.
Yeah. Some blocks are machine quilted, others done by hand. The side-by-side comparison of manipulation intrigues me. Same. Let me put a pie in the chat. Oh, I can't chat because I can't chat in my own show. It wants me to log in again. I don't know why. Oh my God, Padma, you know what? You're out. Take a time out. No, I'm just kidding. What if I could time out viewers? That'd be funny. Actually, I think mods can. Word and Bird Nerd, you could probably figure it out.
You can, but it's bad.
Oh wait, hold on.
You only do it to really, truly bad people.
Yeah. It would. I think any of our core audience who got timed out, like that would trigger people really hard. Like that would not be good. You'd have to be really bad to get blocked. Oh God, or timed out. Okay. So here's one. Let's just read a couple more. Read a couple more, and then we gotta live. I can't keep you all night. By the way, Robin and I talked about this. Oh, actually, okay. We're gonna, the schedule. There's the holidays are coming up. Everybody, there's gonna be a New Year's Eve show. I mean, the last New Year's Eve was so much fun. We're gonna do it again. It was just the best. And Christmas week, and if you're a subscriber, there's gonna be special things. I'm telling you, there's gonna be lots of fun. There's gonna be a lot of holiday frippery. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I'm gonna use it. Okay, I want to read you. I'm going to read about 2 more quilts. Read to you about 2 more quilts. Do I have? Hold on now. I've got that one, but I showed that one. I want to talk about. Oh yeah. Hold on, everybody, hold on. Yeah, I mean, these quilts, $3,200. This one is called, Okay, let me read you about this one, because this one I have prepared. This is called Tied, Not Bound, and I know we looked at it, but we're going to look at it a little bit longer. And she says this is a $5,000 quilt. She describes it as a large quilt with log cabin block pattern, half covered with raw edge chiffon. All 4 edges have been folded toward the back and hand sewn, quilted with small ties. Cotton chiffon 63 by 61, made between 2014 and 2018. Lorena says, quote, first quilt top I pieced back in 2014. 4 years folded away. It was a daunting task I saw ahead of myself to quilt and assemble. I fell out of love with the pattern, dismissed it almost, acknowledging it was my first try, but still being a little embarrassed about the mismatched seams. Interesting. You know, I gotta say, the color choice, I'm into it. It's strange. This pale pink, almost a lavender, faded lavender, green, Depression era green, blue, like this, what is this blue? And then this faded melon. But it's working for me. It's not my palette, but it's working for me. And you gotta give this chick credit for that very interesting log cabin layout, right? I mean, that's right. I mean, it's pretty intriguing, this interlocking log cabin. We've seen a lot of quilts, y'all. Have you ever seen that? Exactly. I haven't. I honestly haven't. And to be perfectly frank, how did she do that? How is this working here? I mean, how did she do that? Because if this is our block, hold on. I mean, sorry, I guess I gotta show.
That involves Y seams.
Yes, it does involve Y seams. Yes, it does. I mean, that's not bush league stuff right there. I'm not saying she was, but I mean, you know.
I think she probably also could have done them in rows.
Oh yeah? Okay,
yeah,
interesting.
Like if you slice it down, you can see like if you did like the white rail on one side, and I mean it's almost like a log cabin mixed up with a split rail. Like I think it's that kind of.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Because there's seams right here. Right there. Yeah. Interesting. Ingenious though. Very
really
clever.
I didn't realize until you zoomed in. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I know.
That's not just a regular log cabin.
I know. I didn't notice it either until I was like, hang on, wait a minute. Like, why does that look so good? It's log cabins look great, but that's pretty great. And then you've got this chiffon over the top, which, you know, makes it a lot less usable as a cover. Maybe. I mean, but maybe not. Maybe it's just fabulous, right? On your bed. I mean, if you want to wash it, okay, take care. But I mean, it's pretty glamorous. The more I look at this, the more I'm into it, y'all. The more I am into it. Hey, L Riggs, subscribed to tier 2. You've been subscribed for a whole year. L Riggs. Wait, no. Okay, all of the things. Thank you, Lisa, very much. I always remember when you were on the show, and it was great, and we had a nice chat afterwards. Good talks. Good times. Thank you for supporting Quilt Nerd. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of, what are people saying in the chat? Mother Nature sees Rose. Susan or Michael. Hello, Susan. Hello, Mother Nature. Is it a half log cabin block? Let me see. I've got a, yeah, we got this. This is a nice detail. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it there, right? So I'll zoom in just a little bit. This is a nice detail shot, so we have a little bit more intel on the seaming. Penny Catherine, hey Penny Catherine, says, oh, okay, you're talking about something else. Kitty Hannah can't with a chiffon. She's not into it. It's like stitched into wrinkles. She doesn't like it. Kitty's like, I don't like it. She's like this. She's like, no. Alternating blocks. Bridgewater says no Y seams. Robin sees Rose. Yep, Little Bird Stitch. This harkens back to the Rauschenberg painting with the quilt. Oh, damn, girl.
That's what
That's,
I do. I invented Post-its.
Raffles says, to be fair, a wall hanging doesn't really need to be bound since it's not going to be washed or used as a blanket. Very good point. Yeah, I think, okay, do you think it's rose, Steph? Seeing, yeah, it is. It's because of that. It's this
I
right
think
here.
it would be easier for us to see
That's
if the
the clue.
chiffon wasn't there. You'd be able to see like the top border of the quilt, and I think you would be able to see like there's somewhere it's dropped down. Like there's got to be blocks at the top that don't have that white border.
Exactly.
And so then they're like offset. That's why it looks the way it does.
Exactly.
But from a distance,
From a
I was like, oh my
distance.
gosh,
Yeah.
that looks very like difficult.
Yeah.
But
It's successful. I mean, anybody, I always encourage people, take screenshots, look at how she did it. Is it something you want to incorporate? That ain't cheating. That's just being in the world, right? Now, if you put chiffon over it and tie it with ties, and then you're weird. Don't do that, but I don't think you will. Okay, one last quilt from Lorena. We're going to talk about this one, after school. So after school, $3,200, hand quilted with reverse applique and blanket stitch binding. Okay, that's one of the reasons I was interested in this quilt. So reverse applique. So this girl has some skills. She knows what she's doing. She's doing clever seaming, clever patchwork, piecework that is not as hard as it looks. It's like, way to go. Like if it's not as hard but you did it and it looks great, like that's the point, right? I mean, that's fun. And it shows some ingenuity. And then blanket stitch binding. Very interesting. What does that mean, right? Like what does that mean? And reverse applique. Not everybody does that. A lot of people make, quilts and never do that. 2018, cotton and chalk. Lorena says, this quilt may be drawing references to education, using the cloth as a type of blackboard, elementary, grade school, marks not unlike those created when you're daydreaming or detached from the present. Here's our chalk down here by my head, okay? One form of education ending with another's beginning. This is a lot of sentence fragments, but it's okay. I understand. Within that transition, the past and present compensate for each other, almost filling in holes that the other one left empty or could not realize. A type of mangled education where the transition never fully materialized. Okay. So this, if it's got chalk on it, this is not, includes hanging and carrying instructions. So this is an art piece. It's not for use. But it's interesting, this blanket stitch binding. I mean, maybe it's turned over, or maybe it's raw, and she's just blanket stitched around the edge, which is cool. That's cool, To be honest, I mean, I like this show because I see stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, if I was making art quilts, or if I was making, modern style quilts, like it'd be cool to see something like that, and use that for a quilt that I was making, but I'm just not doing it right now. So interesting. Yeah, interesting stuff, right? Forever an editor. Yeah, oh yeah, I'll totally be an editor until I die. I love making magazines, man. One day I will make them again. Maybe sooner than later. We shall see. I mean, a Quilt Nerd magazine would be pretty good, right? The last thing I want to do is I just want to click on this anthropology link and see what that's all about. Okay, 2018. Oh, let's check this out. This is the last thing. So Lorena, great. There's some more. I could show you some more pictures, but I just thought it was fun that she was in Quilty, and I just like her so much. And I was like, oh my God, that's her. So this is what she did for anthropology in 2018. She did glassware. Wow. Yeah, she's some people are just, they're artists, man. Like, look, you want me to draw you a sheep? Cool. It'll take me 3 seconds. And it won't look like a sheep. It'll look like a cotton ball. That's great. Look at this nice detail. Wonderful.
those are really reminiscent of her embroideries.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Beautiful. Lady K, I am super into the Quilt Nerd magazine. I've had talks. I've been in talks, truly. But the bakery, the wranglers of the bakery are really good at making sure I don't start talking about stuff before I should talk about it. And that's actually how I'm going to end the show, is talk about all the things
We're
that
trying
take
clone
years
her,
to
you
make.
guys, 'cause that's the only way to do all the things is to clone Mary.
Yeah, yes, exactly. That's true. Because they see all the stuff that goes on around here, and it's like, I don't know, man. I need I don't know. I need the bakery just full time doing my bidding. But that's the thing, is that I'm bad at telling them my bidding, so they need to tell me my bidding. Seriously, I need a manager. Managing people, bad. I need a manager. Then forget about it. Like, everything's getting done, because I don't know how to manage people. Anyway, okay. So the last thing to do. This is wonderful. I loved all of the things that we looked at, and here is how we're gonna close things out. I just want to tell you, because Robin and I worked on this a lot. Hold on, where am I going here? Let me go up here. Robin and I worked on the thing. Oh wait, we got to see the results. Do people want Emma? Everybody loves Emma. 84% of people love Emma. 16% say that Emma scares them, but you know what?
And there was no monkey business about it either.
That's an overwhelming majority. That is the majority ruling. Okay, great. Emma stays on the soundboard. I love it. So, just so you know, it's very, very, very important to me that this project that was born live on the show, this idea that Quilt Nerd will pick 100 more, like the 20th century's best American quilts. This thing came out in 1999. Oh God, now I've forgotten. I just wrote it down. I wrote a whole.
I thought it was 94. I'm probably wrong.
No, 99.
Was it 94?
99.
Or 99.
Close, very close. So yeah, I wrote down like a whole bunch of stuff about this project, and anyway, we'll talk about it more later. But we're gonna do our own. We're gonna pick the next 100 best quilts of the 20th century, and Robin and I worked on the form, because we're putting this all together, how to nominate quilts for this thing, and we've been talking about it, and we're at the point where what Robin and I worked on, we need now to take to Stephanie and Susanna and get your input on it, and really work on it. But I want to, because if you're launching something like this, like, it does seem easy, and it is pretty, it's not effortless, but it's not going to be difficult to do this. We're going to make a form for people to nominate quilts, and then we're going to choose them and so forth. But simple is complicated. So I just want to show you something really quick that we did. We worked on the form, and we got it looking really good. And there's going to be 2 forms. I won't show you yet, because I don't want people to be confused when it does change a little bit. But that's happening. I mean, it's really happening, and that's not a project that we hope to do here. As soon as those nomination forms are ready, we're going to share them, and we've been working on them. It's not just like something we want to do. We have to make sure we're asking the right questions. Where did you see the quilt? Upload an image of the quilt. We have to decide if we're going to collect email addresses or not. And it's a big decision to make, because it would be good to have somebody's email. If they nominated a quilt and we had questions about it, or where they saw it, or where we could find it, it would be good. But when you say on a Google form, we're collecting email addresses, it might put some people off, and we might not get as many people nominating things, which would be bad. So these small decisions, actually, we wanted to put the form out on Friday, but Stephanie and Susanna, we really want, it's not Robin and I's project, right? We have a little team here, so we have to talk to them. But there was a lot of progress made on it, and I want you all to get excited about this and be ready for it. The other thing that we're doing is I need to make a PDF, an open access PDF about the project. What is this? Why are we doing this? We can't just send the form to our friends or send the form to a guild. So there's 3 components. There's the form, there's the PDF about this project. Click here for more about this project. And then also a very form letter that we would send to guilds and people to say, here's what this is, please share this. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to mention that, because we do talk about stuff that's coming up and things that are going to happen, and it just takes time, because things that are worth it take time. But that is really, it's getting there, close, very close. Thanks everybody. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to be with you. And on Tuesday, Quilty Magazine and the Irish patchwork video from the 1980s. It's amazing. I just love hanging out with y'all. And is there a link to the first 100? No.
The reason why we don't have a link, it is on Abe. You can get it on Abe, but the reason we can't do a link is because it doesn't have an ISBN because it was a magazine. So like there's the way that the affiliate system works for us to make links. We do it through the ISBN number, and we can't do it with that. So, but it is on Abe, and I think it's not that expensive.
You can find it, and it's the 20th century's best American quilts, celebrating 100 years of the art of quilt making. And just so you know, for the folks who have been, thanks Ivana, good night, thanks Kay. You know, there's a it's time. I was going to show you the one thing is that it's 100 best American quilts, people's choice, because they had a very specific, great, limited panel of people, 24 people who picked these, and this is a different way to do it. So it's the people's choice, 100 best quilts of the 20th century. Yeah, 20th. Okay, that's it, everybody. Take care of yourselves. I'll be co-working on Monday. Maybe Tuesday. No, not Tuesday, but I'll be co-working on Monday if you want to hang out with us. Take care. Bip, it's so good to see you. Oh my God. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye, Cake.